Hey everybody, Mr. G here. I hope you had a great Easter, and I want to thank you again for joining me today for another art project. We're going to be working on the continuous line project today, and for this project we're going to be dealing with positive and negative space. For this project you're going to need a pencil, you're going to need crayons, markers, or colored pencils to color with, and either a black marker or a black crayon as well. So gather up your supplies and get ready to create. Here is a finished example of the continuous line project. As you can see, we're basically using line and shape to create our composition. However, we are also dealing with positive and negative space. So I want to talk about the element of art space a little bit with you. So space refers to the areas around an artwork. The positive space is the main focus of your artwork, and the negative space is the background. So when we look at the finished version of the continuous line, the main focus, because of the bold colors, is the shapes. And the background is kind of the line that runs through it. But to help create these interesting patterns within the shapes, we're using one continuous line from one end of the paper to the other. And then when the shapes are drawn on top of it, it creates this unique pattern. When I talk about positive and negative space with my students, I often refer to the FedEx logo here at the bottom of my dry erase board. The main focus of the logo is the letters FedEx. But if you've never realized before, their negative space is actually used very creatively in this logo. In this logo, there's a hidden arrow because that refers to FedEx always being on the move, always being around shipping, mail and other boxes around the country. So that hidden arrow, you have to really focus on the negative space. Can you see it? If you can't see it, look between the E and the X. And right here, there is a hidden arrow in the FedEx logo. I guarantee you the next time you see a FedEx truck on the road, you're never going to look at it the same way. Your eye is always going to want to find that arrow. So look between the E and the X and you'll find that hidden arrow in the negative space. That's a very cool way of using space in their design. Now for this project, you're going to need a few different shapes. You can do as many different shapes as you want. I'm probably going to do 4 or 5 shapes on my new example I'm going to be doing for you. So your shapes can be geometric shapes. They can be like a circle, a triangle, a square. They can be a little more creative, like maybe you can draw a heart or a star. Or maybe you're going to do something like a flower type shape. Maybe you're going to do an organic shape, which is more of a curvy blob shape, where you start with one line, you just wrap it around and make sure that you close it up to turn that line into a shape. Or if you know how to do bubble letters, you can also do bubble letters. Maybe you can write your name on this project in bubble letters instead of doing shapes. So for me, maybe I'm going to do a G on my project by writing a G but turning it into a bubble letter. So you can use any kind of shapes that you want for your project. That's going to be an important component and eventually become the main focus of your artwork after you add the color. Now the continuous line is what we're going to be practicing here first. So the continuous line is going to start on one corner of your paper. So on my board here, I'm going to start up here on the left corner. And this line is going to continuously change, okay? My lines can change from straight lines to curvy lines to zigzag lines to lines that are more geometrical. So it's up to you what your line looks like. There is no right or wrong of how your line looks, but it's very important that your line is a continuous line, which means it's one line never stopping until you get to the other side of your paper. And your line should never cross over itself either. So if I'm drawing a line, I shouldn't start drawing it and then just suddenly cross over my line over and over again, because it's going to get really confusing later in the project. So instead, just to quite simply, I'm just going to do a straight line here for a demonstration. So I'm just going to go kind of up and down, turning it, going down, going to the right, going up, going to the right, going down. And so this is a continuous line because it's never stopping, but this is just a straight line. So to add more interest to my picture though, I'm going to change my line throughout the design instead of just staying straight up and down the whole time. So I'm going to start here in the corner. I'm going to start with a straight line. And before I get to the bottom of the line, I'm going to start curving it. So I'm going to move my hand a little bit back and forth. When I get down to the bottom edge of my paper, I'm going to turn to the right a little bit and then go up. I'm going to continue to curve it, but then I'm going to turn it into a zigzag line. So I'm going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Once I get to the top edge, I'm going to turn to the right. I'm going to go straight line again here, all the way down, turn to the right. I'm going to make this a little more unique, so I'm going to kind of go down and up, but again, I'm never crossing over my line. And how you do your line is totally up to you. It doesn't have to be the same way that I'm drawing it here. When I get to the top, I'm going to turn to the right and go down. I'm going to turn it back into a zigzag line, then a curvy line. Here I'm going to do a pattern of more half squares. So I'm going to go up, left, up, right, up, left, up, right. I'm going to come back down. I'm going to give a few little bumps to this line here. When I get to the bottom, I'm going to curve to the right. Add another straight line here. Go to the right. I make this one wavy. Turn to the right. Little zigzag going at different points. Some are longer, some are shorter. Get to the top here, go to the right, and like that, my line is finished. So I have one continuous line going across my entire board here. This line started here and it stops here, but there is a lot of changes throughout. So my biggest tip for you is when you're drawing your continuous line, start with your pencil, because if you make a mistake or you maybe cross over your line or you did a line that you didn't want to do on your project, you can erase that little bit and then continue on again. Just start your pencil where you left off. And then what I would do after you draw it in pencil is then go over it with a black marker or a black crayon so it's nice and bold for your design. So take your time though. It's not something you want to rush through, because the more you take your time as you go through your line, the better your brain and your hand are going to connect with each other and concentrate on making these unique lines going up and down, back and forth until you get to the other edge of your paper. So after you practice your continuous line, you can grab your sheet of paper that you're going to use for your final version. And again, I would recommend starting with your pencil, taking your time, drawing slow, drawing light until you get it right, and then you can go over it with a black marker or a black crayon once you're happy with it. I'm going to be using a black Sharpie for my project. You don't have to use a Sharpie. It just won't smear maybe as much as maybe a black Crayola marker would. So I'm going to use the black Sharpie, but I totally understand if you don't have a Sharpie available to you, or because it's a permanent marker, you might not want to use that at home in case it gets on the table or anything like that. So a regular black marker or crayon will work fine. I am not going to draw my continuous line with pencil first. I'm just going to do it with marker, but again, I do recommend that after you practice it a couple times, then you draw it in pencil still and then outline over it with a marker. So what I mean by that is if I do start my line here with a pencil, after I draw the whole line, outlining over it just means to go on top of that pencil line and covering it with the marker instead of having it be that gray pencil. So I've already got the first part of my continuous line started, so I'm just going to continue on here. I'm going to go in a pattern of up, right, up, left, up, right, up, left. I'm going to turn that into a zigzag line now. As I move up again, I'm taking my time drawing pretty slow. I got to the top of the paper, so I'm just going to come over to the right a little bit. I'm going to start coming down. I'm going to do more of a curvy line, so I'm going to move my hand back and forth in a more gentle curve. Once I get to the bottom here, I'm going to go to the right again. I'm going to do another kind of zigzag, but it's going to be a little more random here. Have it kind of have some random points. It's not a total zigzag as I'm drawing it. Come up with a straight line there, go to the right. And I'm never going to cross over a line I've already drawn. I'm drawing my line slowly so that my brain and hand can concentrate on what I want it to do. I'm just going to use a straight line here in the middle of my paper, come over to the right. I'm going to do a larger version of what I did originally with those kind of block lines. So again, I'm getting really curvy here, but I'm never crossing over my line. And if you accidentally do something you don't want to do, just stop where you are, erase it, and then put your pencil back where it was. I'm almost done, almost to the edge of the paper here. I'll just finish with a straight line up there to the top. So again, this is one continuous line starting here on the top left corner, working my way around and then to the top right. So if you drew yours in pencil, now I would take a moment to outline that with a black crayon or a black marker, and then you're going to get into drawing your shapes. I will draw my shapes with pencil first for you. I'm going to start with a simple circle. These shapes can go anywhere on your paper. They can be scattered around your composition, or they can go in a straight row. Maybe you're doing your name in bubble letters, so you want it to go in a straight row. That's fine. I'm going to start with a circle here. I'm going to draw it up in this left corner. So now I'm kind of containing some of my continuous line within that circle. I'm going to do a bubble letter G over here on this side. A G for Mr. G, obviously. There we go. I'm going to do a triangle. And they can be different sizes. Some of your shapes might be bigger, some of them might be smaller. Do a square shape here. And I'll do an oval over here. So I've got 5 shapes on mine. You can do more or less than that, but I would have them throughout your paper. You don't want to cover your whole paper with shapes. You do want to leave some of that background space, that negative space with that continuous line showing. Now when I go over it with my marker now, I'm going to thicken up the lines of my shapes. I don't want them to be as thin as my continuous line. I want them to be a little bit different. So let's look back at my finished example. You'll notice the thickness of my line on my shapes are a little bit thicker than the continuous line running through them. That just helps differentiate those areas of my artwork a little bit more. I'm going to switch over to a Crayola marker since it's a little more of a broader tip. I'm going to go over my circle. I'm going to go around it a couple times slowly just so it's a little bit of a thicker line. So see how that works? See how that circle stands out already a little bit more over my continuous line because the line of that outline of the shapes is already a little bit thicker. And that'll help me have a better understanding of where I need to color and what should just stay black and white with the continuous line. Oval here. And again, notice already if you just kind of focus on the space inside of these shapes, what cool patterns have been created just from that continuous line running through them. Go around my G here. Again, I'm using the edge of my marker a little bit more so it creates a thicker line. Or you can just go around it a couple times like this just to thicken that up. Okay. So now I've outlined each of those, so now they're standing out a little bit more. So now I'm going to use 3 different colors in each of my shapes. You can use more or less than that. You do want to use at least a couple different colors, but you could use more than one. So like my triangle here, I could use 1, 2, 3, 4 different colors there. I'm just going to kind of do a pattern of 3. In each of mine, you can use markers, crayons, or colored pencils for this. I'm just going to use crayons here. I'm going to press a little bit harder with my crayons so that they're a darker value. So I'm going to flip over my picture. Notice the permanent marker comes through my paper a little bit here, so just ignore that. So just for a demonstration here, dark value means I'm pressing harder with my crayon, so it's a nice bold color. If I press really soft with my crayon, which I know some students like to do, that's a different look to that red. So just two different looks there. So for my first circle here, I'm going to use the primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. Red, blue, and yellow are the primary colors. These three colors can mix to make the secondary colors on the color wheel. So for example, if I had paint and I mixed red and yellow, that would make orange. If I mixed red and blue, that would make purple. And if I mixed blue and yellow, that would make green. The secondary colors can't mix to make the primary colors, but the primary colors can make the other colors on the color wheel. So again, I'm pressing a little bit harder with my crayon so it's a nice, bold, dark value. I just like the way that looks, but if you want to color softer than that, that's totally fine too. Or maybe you're using markers and colored pencils, so you're getting a little bit different look than mine as well. So speaking of the secondary colors, I'm going to switch to those for my next one here. I'm going to do the triangle here. So again, I'm only coloring inside of the shape. I'm not coloring outside of the shape. So every time kind of a continuous line crosses over through my shape, it kind of creates a new, different shape inside of this. So there's my separation line. So now right here, I'm going to do a different one. Oh, there's a little space up here I missed. I'm just going to do that green too. I'm going to do purple here next. So again, green, purple, and orange are the secondary colors on the color wheel. The colors that are created by mixing primary colors. Okay, so now I've got this edge of the line here, so now it's a new shape, so I'm going to use the color I haven't used yet, which is orange. So just by closing off the continuous line with these different shapes, you're creating this pattern inside, and that's what you're focusing on. And as you color these shapes, they really start to stand out. And I'll go back to the purple for this last section. All right, up next is the square. I'm going to switch to warm colors. So using those same color wheel colors, I'm going to go to red, orange, and yellow. These are the warm colors. Think of something hot like fire, lava, the sun. You would usually use warm colors to color or paint that kind of subject matter. Orange, red, I'll go over to yellow here. Again, I'm pressing just a little bit harder than I normally would with this crayon. Not so hard that it's going to crack in half, but it gives me a nice bold color. And I'll do some red here. There's a shape created there, and even though that's one line here, it's creating kind of two separate shapes from where my square fell in there. So inside this one, I'm going to color that part with orange. All right. Next, I'm going to use the cool colors. So that would be blue, green, and purple. When I think of cool colors, I think of the ocean. The ocean is so vast that it gets very cold. So if I was painting the ocean, I'd probably use blues, greens, and purples to do that. I wouldn't use red, orange, and yellow like the sun. Use a couple purples here. Now if you're using colored pencils for this project, you could also blend your colors together. So you can lay in one color on your shape, and then you can go on top of it with another color, and colored pencils have the ability to kind of mix and blend together. Markers can do that a little bit too, but colored pencils do that really nicely. Switch back to blue here where this line crosses over. But I'm not crossing over my lines. This shape I'll do purple. And I'll do one more little green part right there. Okay, so I got the cool colors. So I got the primary colors. I have the secondary colors, the warm colors, and the cool colors. For this last one, I'm going to do just some of my favorite colors since it's G. So I'm going to use blue, orange, which are complements to each other, and I'll add in a little yellow. Yellow is my son's favorite color, so I'll do yellow for him. Start with blue here, so then I've got a different shape here, so I'm going to do orange. Do the shape right here with the yellow. Switch back to orange. Blue. I'm only coloring inside the bubble letter G, not outside of it, and I'll finish with one little spot of yellow right there. And there we have it. So with that, I've got a new continuous line project using a circle, a triangle, a square, an oval, and a bubble letter G for Mr. G, and I'm using my own colors that I want to use. You don't have to use the same colors that I did, but again, I used the primary colors, the secondary colors, warm colors, cool colors, and then just a few of my favorite colors with my son's favorite color, yellow, there too. Thanks again for stopping by today for this art project, everybody. I hope you had a lot of fun. Remember, if you are one of my students, you can email me a picture of your project or any other projects you've completed, and maybe I'll feature them in a future Hooray Art video. You can also share this video or subscribe to my channel above, or leave me any comments or questions down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Until next time, stay positive, always inspire, show creativity, and always be the best version of yourself. Have a great day.